This is Trip Fuller from the Homebrewed Christianity podcast, and you're listening to the country's second best religious radio show, a fiery fist of not quite right religious broadcasting fury. I guess I'm just going to keep doing these. We'll see. All right. Hello, this is Trip from the Homebrewed Christianity podcast. Doug Pagitt Radio is brought to you by the enthusiastic listeners like me, a fiery fist of not quite right religious broadcasting fury. I guess I'm just going to keep doing these. We'll see. All right. Hello, this is Trip from the Homebrewed Christianity podcast.
Oh, yeah, baby, let's get on with it.
Yeehaw. Welcome to Doug Pagitt Radio, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities, bumper edition. We have over the last week or so asked our enthusiastic supporters, listeners, community of Doug Pagitt Radio to chime in and to give us their little bumper music, their little bumper introductions, their pieces. So I wrote a little script, and then people took it as they want. So you're going to hear that today, and thanks everybody for doing that.
That was like an M.C. Escher painting. Have you seen those paintings where it looks like people are going down steps and around and down continually? And
oh yes,
it's like a trick of the optical illusion where it keeps going on. That reminded me of that last bumper. Kind of.
Yeah, thanks. I've tried to play a little bit with it. There's another radio program called Radio Lab. That if you've never listened to it, folks, it's worth listening to after you get done with this one. Program. It's really good quality stuff, and they do that. They have different people call in with their little intros. So I stole the idea.
Pretty much all radio programs have bumpers. Don't
yeah,
you
but
think?
now where they ask their listeners to
so
call
clever.
in, not where they're we're more clever than all the other radio animals the Lord God has made.
That's why we're the second best. Who's the first best?
Well, I think Tripp is suggesting that his Homebrewed Christianity podcast is a radio show. I think that's what he was getting at, but it's not a radio show.
Oh, you see, you're taking issue with it.
Because he edits. That's fine. Podcasts are great. I run a podcast. Mm-hmm. It's just not live radio. This is live radio, and that's Victoria, the sidekick.
Hi.
Not only is this bumper music Wednesday, but we got a full-on hemp sit-in going on in this room. Victoria has come in with extra hemp-smelling tea tree oiled clothing today.
I'm a little extra odoriferous.
Yeah, and so I feel like I should be stoned, but I'm not. So I'm a little confused about the whole thing.
You all should be glad that radio doesn't have smell, because you would
smell a radio.
You'd all be getting headaches. I was a little heavy.
No, I think it's. Were you?
So, yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with bringing that, and it's a blend of odors. It's like I'm at the co-op, at the Linden Hills Co-op, which is our little hippie co-op around here.
Yeah, only in a much smaller enclosed space.
Yeah, for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's got sort of a, I don't know, it's kind of patchouli.
Yep, there's some patchouli in there.
It's kind of hemp.
Yeah.
It's kind of wet wool.
Yeah, it's tea tree oil. I was trying to cover up the tea tree oil with the patchouli. And yeah.
Well,
instead
thanks,
got this
thanks
special.
For being here. Thanks for being here, nonetheless. And even with all the odor, nice to have you in, of course. Hey, we're gonna have Ani Zonneveld on today, and Ani's, one shouldn't play favorites, but she's clearly my favorite progressive Muslim. And she
of the
she
three that
she
you
had
know?
Of the one that I know, but she's totally my favorite. I love her. And she has a new project going on called Keep It Halal. And so she is doing what a lot of us in Christianity and friends that I know in Judaism are trying to do with their faith, and that is to allow it to be modernized and to know and reflect on when your faith has been formed and shaped by cultural forces, but the keepers of the faith have often wanted to convince you that that's not about cultural forces, it's just about purity.
Yes.
And so she's pushing on that. And so she's got a little thing on Sharia law where she says Sharia law, and there's this quote, you're gonna hear it on the little, she has a movie coming out that's, it says Sharia law is completely man-made. And by man-made, she does mean that, not just human-made, but guys.
Came quite a bit after the Quran. And
right. So she's going to tell us a little bit about that, and what and halal means that something is approved or acceptable or legitimate, proper. Yeah, and we know that because we were just talking before the show about the meaning of the word halal.
We
I thought it was a meat. I actually thought it was a grocery store reference. I'm going to tell her that. Yeah. I did because the only place I see
all the grocery stores have that on there.
the only place I see halal is on a grocery store.
Like it's okay to come in here. Just bring your Victorian parasol. And
Well, I didn't even know that it meant it was okay to come in here. I just thought it was like they serve halal meat.
yeah, I thought it was only in reference to food. I didn't realize it extended beyond to behavior. Showing my ignorance. But
Yes. Well, yeah. Let's.
we might as well. That's what we do on Doug Pagitt Radio.
We
air our ignorance.
This is a radio show built around our ignorance. Things we don't know for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'm also excited because we're bringing back two features that the community has clamored for.
Clamored.
They have clamored and begged. It was really becoming an issue. People who were used to listening to the radio program when it was on air, over at AM 950 when it was broadcasting over the radio waves, they liked the features of the Right On, where we made a Right On, and where the Cripes Come On, You've Got to Be Kidding Me. Well, one of us liked the Cripes, You Got to Be, Come On, You Got to Be Kidding Me. But other people said they liked the Right On, and I think the Right On and the Cripes Come On, You've Got to Be Kidding Me have to go as a package.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this in a minute, because the Cripes Come On, You've Got to Be Kidding Me segment is this normally fun and lighthearted and sometimes serious lament, public complaint, public grievance. It's Festivus for the rest of us.
On which you can share your curmudgeonly perspectives.
Yes. It is, but it's also where we cry out in collective voice that there's some things in this world that are not the way they're supposed to be.
You know, when you say that,
There's
you
some things that are
sound to
broken.
me like sometimes the way it feels like some of the writers in the Bible, like just kind of put these platitudes over.
That they're trying to pretty it up, spiritualize it, and pretty it up a little bit.
Yeah,
You
just
think
smacks
I'm-
a little bit of that.
You think I'm just complaining, don't you? You think
Yes, I do. I think
you think I'm
mostly-
just a guy who likes to moan and grumble about things. No, it's not. I'm doing a service. When I gripe and complain, it is a public service, and it's bringing people together to recognize. Yes, there are. Well, we'll get into this in a minute because the Cripes Come On, You Got to Be Kidding Me.
Yeah.
But the Cripes Come On, You Got to Be Kidding Me is a public lament, and then the Right On is the public acknowledgement that we have choices to make in this world. We don't have to leave things in the grumbling state.
No.
We can make the world that we want.
And we can be inspired by the people who are
Yes.
doing their thing.
Yes, and we can feel like there's other people who have faith and have hope and have love and have strength, and we want their faith, hope, love, and strength to spill over onto us a little bit.
And listeners, he won't even tell me. what the
No,
Right
it's a
On-
secret. Sometimes I
like
hold the
Oscars.
Right On in so that it comes
in
with
a
all of its
sealed envelope.
I should do that. I should have a sealed
You
envelope.
should, and
It'll
you
be-
should dress up.
I think I might do that. I'm going to pull out an envelope right now. When we do this, and it'll be like this is really dating myself. But before David Letterman was on television, and he's been on for a long time because he's an old guy, and before Conan O'Brien and before Jimmy Fallon, who I just don't care for.
No.
Do you care for Jimmy Fallon?
No. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even.
Yeah. We should have a segment called Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy Fallon gets the I don't know. I just don't find him funny.
Yeah.
I know other people do all the time. I know there's listeners to this that right now
Which
they will
one
message
is
me
the
over at
redhead
DougPagitt.com.
one?
That's Conan O'Brien.
I like him.
And then Jimmy Kimmel is the other one. He's sort of the fresh-faced looking
Yeah.
fella. I don't know why I refer to him that way. Chubby, a little chubby
Little
sometimes.
chubby.
He's actually the live-in mate, I think, of Sarah Silverman.
I don't know who that is.
Really, you don't traffic in funny people
I guess not.
or in comedians.
Maybe not so
Well, how about
much.
that?
I'm not usually up that late. Is the problem? I fall asleep with my children
Yeah,
in their
that's
bed,
fair.
and then I
That's
drag
fair.
myself up.
I was listening to an NPR radio program the other day while I was running, which is a dangerous thing to do.
Yes.
Because one could doze off. I'm kidding. And they were talking about R. Kelly.
Okay.
I didn't know who R. Kelly was. They played a song from R. Kelly. R. Kelly apparently is like seriously famous. Do you know who it is? No. He's a musician.
Who, what kind of music?
This is like radio brought to you by old people. This is like Buick
Culturally.
and Geritol, and it's unbelievable.
Ben Gay.
How do we not Ben Gay? How do we? Well, patchouli, the whatever. What's the hippie
the
version of Ben Gay?
homeopath arnica.
Arnica. Oh, great. It's brought to you by Arnica. Doug Pagitt Radio, brought to you by Arnica and other people, other things that don't have anything to do with pop culture. But R. Kelly, see, okay, I feel a little better because,
So, what
I
kind
mean,
of
even the
music?
guy on NPR, it's people will know better than me. Rhythm and bluesy kind of stuff. Funk, soul, rap, blended
well,
with...
I should then.
With...
I mean, I do listen to The Current.
The Current.
I love The Current.
Oh,
You don't like The Current?
boy.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Yeah.
The
No,
Current
it goes
is one
in
of
the-
the best things that ever happened.
The Current is a public radio station here in the Twin Cities that plays music that nobody wants to listen to, so they won't play it on regular radio.
That is such a lie. That is
That's
ridiculous.
the tagline. I think it's their tagline. You haven't heard it? Radio nobody really wants to listen to, so we use public-supported funds.
I know a bunch of huge Current fans, as I am.
Tens and
because
20s of them, I bet.
Almost everybody I know except you loves The Current.
But they don't know R. Kelly. And they don't know Jimmy
They may
Kimmel.
have
So I don't know who these people are that think they're all that, but they're not getting anything out of us. So what were we talking about that got us into R. Kelly? How did I transition into R. Kelly?
Where are we? Let's look at our schedule.
Yeah, well,
I think we're supposed to do the.
No, I know.
Come on.
I just didn't know where we. I know. I can read this. I can read the timesheet. I do know
That
what's,
you
I do know
created?
that I made. I mean,
Your own
I just didn't
chart?
know I was talking about something before I was interrupted by the by the R. Kelly.
Comedians, NPR running comedians.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But see, when that little dinging sound goes off, which sometimes people hear on the radio program, that's me
hate
having a
that
thought.
noise.
And it's coming out of my MacBook Air, and I cannot figure out what it is. I can't find it. I don't know what program in my computer is making that boinging sound.
We beseech you, listeners, can you
that-
fix that?
That
Can
should
you
go in
tell
the
us?
that
'Cause
should
it
go in the
hurts.
that should go in the come on in the come on segment.
Yeah, it
That
should.
that I can't. I mean, I feel pretty. I feel pretty.
You're pretty savvy.
I
You're
feel
running
pretty
the whole
savvy. I mean,
thing
yeah.
over there.
Thank you for noticing. I mean,
Notice.
we've got new cameras up. We've got
I know,
we've got a
the
cleaned up
cameras.
system in here. If you're just listening, thanks for listening, of course. But try watching sometime. I mean, if you think this is tantalizing radio as it is. Hey, we're going to be back here in just a second with the Cripes and the Come On and the You've Got to Be Kidding Me here here on Doug Pagitt Radio. So stick with us here. Those of you who are watching on the Ustream, your startups are going to, you're going to be all right. You just start a new one if you don't mind.
I was just flipped off by a silver-haired old lady with a honk if you love Jesus sticker on the bumper of her car.
I like the little number. Hey, welcome to Doug Pagitt Radio. There are some things in this world that are not the way they're supposed to be. There's some things that are broken. There's some things that are off kilter. There's some things that are out of sync. There's some things that are not supposed to be like that. And we need, as human beings, to have a public lament. We need to have a public cry out. We need to have something, some way that we can.
Do you have to wear sackcloth and ashes?
Well, yes, we need a sackcloth and ashes, because sackcloth and ashes is your
I don't
way.
do sackcloth and ashes. That wasn't in my contract as sidekick.
No, but today, because mostly, maybe there are still cultures where people sackcloth and ash. I don't even know if that's true. If there's anywhere that people sackcloth and ash, is there?
I don't know,
Is there
but
anywhere
I'm
people
not
sackcloth
doing
and
it.
ash? That now people stay home and stay in their pajamas all day.
Oh, that'd
That's
be
like
fine.
that's like a modern day version of if you're really sad or
you're
you're
really-
kind of
yeah, that's
depressed
true.
about something or you're mourning. You don't
That's
shower.
just a normal day for me.
Yeah, you don't shower. Speaking of that, I'm going to give myself that in the come on, actually. So there's some things that we have to complain about. And if you don't complain, you explode. And if you don't complain, it comes out sideways.
a
But if
pressure
you can
cooker?
lament, this is the great tradition of lamenting. Not just curmudgeoning, not just grumbling,
Mm-hmm.
but lamenting. And lamenting creates the need for that to be fixed. See, this is why lamenting is important.
But people, culturally, we sort of think like if we do it, we're just going to make it worse. It's especially here in Minnesota. It's like, well, just buck up, be stoic. Don't.
Yes.
It could
Well,
be
I do think there are some people and some processes that are just complaining.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes it transitions into lamenting. And when it moves from complaining to lamenting, Now you're calling a community together to say we won't stand for it anymore. We're no more. We're raising our fists. We're not gonna put up with that any longer, and we want a different world. And that's why you go through the public. That's why you go through the public cry out. That's why you, the lament. It's great. Okay, so I come up with one for each of the phrases. Cripes, because I grew up saying cripes as a kid. Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
It's a great word.
We weren't religious. It's not like we were trying not to say
swear.
The title of the Lord Jesus. Mm-hmm. But it was a different word, cripes. Mm-hmm. I guess I should look up the root of that word. So cripes, and then the come on. Come on. I grew up saying that too. Did you say that? Do you say that now? Come on. And then, of course, that you've got to be kidding me. How many times, right?
We said for crying in the soup. That's what we used to say. I know. For crying in the soup, that. For crying. Cripe and beep.
For crying in the soup, you said.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else says that.
Well, I hope not. I don't know. What would that mean? For crying in the soup.
I don't know. Kind of like you already have an
Now that
liquid.
does sound like one where somebody's trying not to say a swear word.
Maybe so. I don't know. I should ask my parents if their parents
for crying
said
in the
that.
soup. Well, you can come up with one sidekick if you'd like to have a for crying in the soup.
You're
it could be a
give
cripes.
that to me?
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
And
for crying in the soup. Yeah, that's clever. All right. So the cripes this week, and I tend to either assign them to a person or a situation. So the cripes goes to my daughter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's 22, almost 23.
What'd she do?
We're sitting out in the family room yesterday. After me going 4 days without being able to find my headphones to my phone, which I got the new iPhone 5.
You did.
And I did.
And you get a special
Not
set
just
of
an
headphone.
iPhone. It's an iPhone 5. And it has their newly designed headphones, which are great. They fit my ears properly. They're terrific.
Do you have trouble with headphones
Oh,
normally?
totally trouble. That's why I wear the ones I'm wearing right now. I have to have little hooks on them because my ear canals are, I don't know, they're not normal. Well, the people over at Apple, they fixed it. And they've come up with one that's fantastic. It fits like 90% of the
4 days,
years.
the whole Thanksgiving break.
Oh, I've been without them for,
them.
I mean, and I think I lose. I thought I lost them because I lose my headphones all the time.
Right.
Well, or I thought I lost my headphones all the time.
Really?
I look over at my 22-year-old daughter. She has a pair of headphones wrapped around her phone, and I can see the end. They're shaped. They're mine, and she doesn't have them. Nobody, they're
You're the only one with the
so
new
I said,
iPhone.
yes, I'm the only one with the new iPhone. So I said, well, hey, where'd you get those headphones? Because I think they're mine. And you know what her answer was? Well, maybe they were on the table and then they just became mine.
Maybe.
Isn't that a great line? Then they just became mine. I don't even know how that happened. I had nothing to do with it. These headphones just became mine. They
This
just merged
supports my
into
theory
mineness.
about children. Whenever no matter how old you are, whenever you step into your parents' house, you become 12 or 13 again.
And you take their crap. Is what you do.
And you
break it,
say
and
these
you keep it.
ridiculous things.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me just as serious as
Maybe.
as a nurse in the maternity ward. She's just looking at me, and I'm like, what? What do you mean they just became yours? Like your hands big? Well, I don't even know where these came from. I mean, they just sort of merged into mineness. Unbelievable. And she wrapped them up like she spun them around like some old vacuum cleaner cord. And,
boy.
Cripes.
Cripes is right.
That's not the only reason we brought the cripes back, but I was really pleased last night when someone behaves in such a way as to...
Yeah, now that's a whole nother thing when you start to get excited about getting a good thing to lament about. Like, oh, I got a good one now.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo.
So the come on, I think it's going to go to, you for wearing the patchouli.
It's so bad.
All right, and then the you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. This is a big one. And normally I don't do I won't do the more serious topics. Mm-hmm. But on this one, I think it deserves it because both at a real level of lament and at a you got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. In a small town in northern Minnesota. And here's why I'm giving the cripes to myself, or that you got to be kidding me to myself, because I have this thing about small towns. They freak me out.
Oh, do they?
They freak me out. I'm terrified of them.
The whole fishbowl kind of vigilante.
I don't know. I have a totally ungrounded, so people don't need to complain at me about this. Totally unsubstantiated and undefendable fear that small towns are run by small groups of powerful men with guns in their houses.
Kind of like a country mafia or something.
Yeah. It's like Children of the
I
Corn
can just hear
in
the
every
tweets
small town.
now. You're getting them.
I'm telling you. Yeah. Go ahead. You can tweet me over at Pagitt on Twitter. Oh, and by the way, a woman was great because I asked people to make these bumpers for the show. A gal said, "Hey, that's a great idea. I'd love to make a bumper. A bumper's like, the intro to something, a little beginning. You're going to hear a couple more of them." And the woman said, I would love to do one, but get a load of this. But I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Apparently doesn't listen to the show.
She wants to make a bumper.
I have a feeling if you listen to the show, you might know that it's a soft G in Pagitt, as in Doug Pagitt Radio.
Oh, so people call you Pagitt sometimes?
Oh, they call me Pagitt all the time, and I lecture them.
Yeah,
I lecture them about the rules of a G
the soft
in the
G
soft
when
G in the
it's
middle of a
after,
word.
when it's before an I or something.
Yeah, G before a vowel, and when there's just one G, it's the soft G sound, as in the word magic, compared to the word maggot, which has two G's. So,
As opposed
if
to,
you miss that day at school, I like to say, it's the soft.
magic.
Now there are, because it's the English language and it makes no sense. There are some
usually
exceptions
in
to
names.
that. There are some exceptions to that, but normally one G, go soft.
I
Pagitt.
love that
gonna
you
help you.
lecture people. I never lecture people
About
when
their-
they get my name wrong, and they always do.
Well, you have a word scramble of a name with a hyphen in the middle of it. You can't complain to people.
Well, I don't.
About such things. But okay, so I have this ungrounded, unsubstantiated fear of small towns. They terrify me. I feel like there's the sheriff's always in on it. In my imagination, in my mind, the sheriff is in on it. There's bad people that do things. Folks disappear. People have weapons
should watch
in their
Deadwood.
houses.
Have you watched
Oh
Deadwood?
no, is it like that?
Well, it's
will
a gold rush.
will
It's
the-
Montana
okay,
gold
well,
rush. It's great, but it will just help you out.
Really?
With that.
Yeah, that's what I need. Like, and it's not because I grew up in like a trashy first ring suburb of Minneapolis, right? That I feel this way, but I'm more of an urban, suburban sort of person. Small towns freak me out. So this week there was a story that came out of Little Falls, which is a small town. And, people are always like, this stuff isn't supposed to happen in small towns. Really? They're all populated with methamphetamine factories and people's garages and bars. Like, really? These things don't happen? Really? The level of sexual abuse in
wouldn't
these
wanna be
places?
your
Really? The
email
number of
reader.
women? Oh, it's just unbelievable. Like, if you are a vulnerable person in a small... Anyway. Yeah, so, I'm completely off my rocker about small towns, right? And then, as it turns out, open up the newspaper to any small town segment, and it's Crazyville. In this small town, these young kids, 19, 18-year-olds, broke into a guy's house. They are guessing that because of the history of these folks, these two youngsters, that they were maybe looking for some drugs, maybe some prescription drugs or some Sudafed,
For their methamphetamine,
which is what
making,
you do
whatever.
on Friday nights.
in small towns.
In small towns. After the video store closes, you just go to them. So anyway, it's playing into my bias. So you've got to be kidding me is the fact that I have a bias. I'm taking this. So anyway, these poor kids break into this guy's house. He's downstairs.
Poor kids.
He's downstairs. Pulls out his rifle. The owner, 64-year-old guy, used to work for the State Department, security guard
Keeping
for the State
everybody
Department
safe.
around the world. Pulls out. He's got a rifle in his house, of course. And this is how it goes. Got a rifle in his house. It tells the police this, runs them through the whole scenario.
Yeah.
Kid comes down the stairs. As soon as he sees the kid's hips get below, where he can see him on the stairs, so sort of below the ceiling, shoots at the kid, hits him in the hips, falls down the stairs. He's not dead, so he puts the rifle on his chest and kills him. Puts him on a tarp and drags him into the workshop. Right? Really? And in the workshop, he's in there noodling around. Here's another person walking upstairs. This is the girlfriend of this 18-year-old kid. She's 19. She comes down the stairs. Now, really? You're in
You
a
hear a
house. You've
gunshot.
broken into a house. There's a gunshot. Your boyfriend doesn't have a gun with him, and you're like, I think I'm going to go downstairs.
And check it
I'm
out.
guessing she may have been affected by some chemicals.
extra.
She comes down the stairs. He tells the police this whole story. Comes down the stairs, shoots her in the hips. She falls down. He goes to shoot her in the chest. The gun jams. Okay, so just another thing. How come guns always jam in these kinds of situations?
Yeah, usually I thought that just happened on, The Walking Dead and
Yeah,
stuff
but it
like
happens all the time.
Yeah.
All these school shootings, all these shootings at a business.
Maybe some angelic force jammed it, so she didn't have to die.
There's gun jammers. There's angelic
There's
gun jammers.
special spirits. Now, then, of course, we have to ask ourselves, why didn't they do that?
Yeah, why
for the
didn't
boy
they jam it on the
or
first?
everybody else? That's where these things break down. But
Goes to
at
shoot her
any
in the
rate-
chest. The gun jams.
So she survived?
No. Listen to the rest of the story here. So what does he do? Pulls out his pistol that he's carrying in his house, by the way, on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
This is on Thanksgiving.
Well,
Here's a guy
to protect the fort.
in his basement
The
with a
Indians might be
rifle
coming.
and a pistol. So pulls out the pistol, shoots her in the chest a couple times after she laughed at him because the gun jammed.
Yuck.
Drags her into the room.
Yeah.
She's not dead. So he puts the gun underneath her chin and blows the top of her head off. Are you kidding me?
Now,
You have got to be kidding me.
and
And then
he leaves him there, right?
waits a day and tells the neighbor to call the police. Waits a day.
Well,
It's just,
This
it's
guy-
tragic beyond belief.
so does he have a history of mental illness?
I don't know. They haven't said that I've
I
that
haven't
I've
heard
seen.
any of that. I mean, it's obviously
So it's very sad.
The whole
it's a very
thing
sad.
is-
It's a very sad story.
yeah.
So you have to have a public lament, right? Like you can have the funny ones, you can have the silly ones, you can have the the patchouli smelling.
I could burn some incense to cover
That
up
would help.
the.
And you can have your daughter, but
This is beyond.
it's just really sad. It's sad at every level, and you have to have something. And I mean, I don't. It interferes with my small town problems because you feel more. I feel more badly for all these people. This poor guy.
Right.
Horrible situation for him. These families of these kids, terrible situation. I mean, it's just tragic. And what does one do when you live in a world like that? You have to have a way to do something, right? Because you can't just live in fear of small towns.
It's so many
and everything.
degrees away from anything that you can try to even figure out how to rehabilitate. I mean,
Yeah, it's
there's-
totally bizarre.
I mean,
But this stuff happens far too frequently in our world too.
yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's not just in a now. I mean, this one is particularly creepy, but it's
Now, this is especially interesting that you're bringing this up because you also posted a really great article on Facebook about how the world overall is getting better.
oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so, what is it? I mean, we have these kinds of incidents, and they get a lot of attention, understandably so, because they're so awful. But yet, we don't seem to be balancing them out with information or stories or whatever about how things get better. Goodness.
Well, I mean, these are going to be crazy one-off things that happen every now and again, right? And when it happens, it's universally tragic and sad.
Right.
Everyone knows it. There's nobody who's like, oh, well, I don't know. That seems sort of reasonable. Just terrible.
Right.
Just
No,
terrible.
Like
at
the
every level.
Batman, when the Batman movie
Right.
opened. Somebody.
Yeah. So you're going to have those kinds of things, but I don't think that implicates the overall changes in nearly every other area of life in which things are better.
No, I don't think it does either, but I think it makes us feel like it does. Are you trying to air out the room?
No,
there,
it's just
Allison?
hot. It's just
Need a
become
fan to blow out the.
Yeah. So so it's there are times in this life where one has to complain, where one has to cry out, where one has to lament, because sometimes they're just the silly things.
And
Fair enough.
sometimes
And sometimes they're really quite collectively sad and scary and just nothing good and redeemable in it, right? Like it's
Right.
just simply tragic.
And I think that we misunderstand our need to do it sometimes. Like, we think that we're going to go through it, or we think we have to shut it out because it's going to get worse if we let ourselves go into the lament in a series. I think it's a cultural misconception. Like, if you're grieving about a death or something, we have this fear that if we go into the grief, that we're never going to come out of it. When actually the opposite happens. If you don't let yourself experience the grief or the lament or whatever, if you shut it out, then you never process it. You never metabolize it. Or whatever. And you can't come out on the other side. But it feels like when you're in it, now I'm talking like big grief here. Now I'm going step. Yeah. It feels like when you're in it, like it's never going to go away. I think. But it's never going to go away if you don't go through it.
Very nice. Well, the cripes, come on, you got to be kidding me. Every week there's some things that are silly, some things that are no big deal, and then there's some things that you just have to be prepared to know that you can lament. And there's these things that you say you just got to be kidding me. It's a tragic story. So, Doug Pagitt Radio, we're going to be back here after the break. If you're watching on the Ustream, click to the new one. If you're listening on Spreaker, we're going to launch a new program. Thanks for listening. Doug Pagitt Radio will be back here in just a second.